You were abducted and taken to an alien planet where they hunt you for sport and honor. Little do they know they've doomed themselves, for you're a werewolf, and they took you to a planet with 6 moons. They made a mistake. I looked harmless enough for a human, broken down the country backroads of Kentucky on a Saturday night. I was changing the tire, lug nuts in my hand, thinking of how upset my wife would be. I hadn't come home yet when the beam of light hit me. I'd always thought aliens were bullshit. Turns out they're real and they're assholes. At first they kept to the shadows. They fed me the finest cuts of steak as we flew back to their planet. Protein, they said in their broken English. They kept me in a small room with weights for exercise and padded cushions for sleeping. I suppose they felt that made it fair. At the time, I was just glad things hadn't gone all fire in the sky. I could bide my time until the next moonrise. They didn't understand how I smiled at them through the slot in my door. They were dead meat walking, and I prefer my meat rare. When they dropped me on the surface and said, "Run, run, run," I didn't waste time. I took off across the cracked gray sand and found shelter in a thick, dusky blue grove of trees. If I could survive until tonight and see the moon, then they would get what was coming to them. I climbed a tree and smiled as the sun dropped. The moon arose and I changed. The first alien who found me thought he was very clever, sneaking around the base of my tree. But I'd already smelled him 2 miles away, and I was ready. I pounced and tore him apart. For the first time, I got a good look at them. Gray-skinned, bobbleheads, and bug eyes. I had to laugh. They're just like the movies, but it came out as a howl. I took 3 more of them that night. I curled up in my tree to sleep. I thanked the moon for the gift she had given me. But there were 2 of her. Soon, there were 6. My first day on the planet was my last as a human. I'd landed on a rare event when none of the moons are risen. I'd later learned it was a celebration, a holiday. I can't say how many months passed, or years, but the sun rose and fell 300 times. I killed hunter after hunter, until my life became an unending stream of killing. I stopped being human. After 200 sunfalls, they stopped coming for me. They left me to live in the dusky blue forest. It was mine now. I prowled the edges of my land constantly, only sleeping for a few fitful hours when I dreamed of being human again. Then they sent a human woman. "Daniel," she said in a tongue I'd almost forgotten. "It's me, Sarah," I growled at her. "Do you remember me?" I leaped on her chest and set my teeth to her throat. She smelled of lavender. Lavender. This planet had no lavender. "It's me, your wife!" she screamed. I lifted my head. "They sent me to talk to you." Tears streamed down her face. "I thought you were dead. Are we dead? They want me to talk to you and tell you to stop." I rubbed her tears with my muzzle. "Please. They said we can go home. They said they're sorry." I sat back on my haunches and considered. It's hard to think when you've been running on instinct for so long. "They said they'll give us a ship and everything. It's already programmed to head straight to Earth, Kentucky." She reached out a hand for me. "Please say you remember me." I carried her in my mouth, by her neck, until I found the ship. She later told me she was too terrified to move. I've never forgiven myself for scaring her that way. When I woke up in our own bed, human again, I cried. We never talked about it again. I never saw the aliens again. But I'd like to think now they know not to fuck with Kentucky.